Southwestern France is facing one of its most dangerous wildfire emergencies in years. A fast-moving blaze tearing through the Gironde region has forced tens of thousands of people from their homes, blackened thousands of hectares of pine forest, and claimed the lives of 2 firefighters in a single, devastating night. What started as one fire has now multiplied into a string of separate, simultaneous emergencies, stretching from the Atlantic coast to the Mediterranean and from the Alps down to Corsica, turning this into one of the most serious, most geographically spread out fire crises the country has faced in years. The fire that exploded sixfold in 3 hours. The fire broke out this week near the towns of Léon and Somos, close to Bordeaux, in an area of dense pine plantation that has fueled some of France's worst wildfires in the past. Within hours, it had exploded in size, spreading sixfold in under 3 hours, a growth rate that caught even experienced fire crews off guard and left little time to establish containment lines before the flames were already racing through the treetops. By Thursday, the fire had scorched somewhere between 2,000 and 3,100 hectares, and it was still advancing, pushing rapidly toward the resort towns of Arez and Lège-Cap-Ferret on the Atlantic coast, an area that still bears the visible scars of the catastrophic wildfires of 2022, when similar scenes played out along this same stretch of coastline. More than 20,000 residents, campers, and tourists have been ordered to evacuate the area around Arcachon Bay, one of the most popular summer destinations in southwestern France and normally packed with vacationers at this time of year. Roads had been closed, campsites emptied overnight, and thousands of people were seen sleeping on beaches or gathered in temporary shelters as thick smoke filled the sky above the coastline, turning what should have been a summer holiday scene into something closer to a disaster zone. Authorities say the fire is being driven by an unusually intense combination of prolonged drought, record summer heat, and shifting winds that have made the blaze extremely difficult to predict or contain. Fire behavior specialists note that this combination, parched vegetation, high temperatures, and unpredictable gusts, is exactly the kind of setup that allows a modest forest fire to become an uncontrollable one within a matter of hours. 2 firefighters lost. The disaster has already turned deadly, and the loss has hit emergency crews across the region hard. 2 firefighters lost their lives earlier this week battling a separate blaze near Bordeaux-Mérignac Airport. Their vehicle became trapped as flames reaching up to 30 meters into the air swept through the trees around them while they were trying to stop the fire from spreading toward the airport, a scenario fire crews describe as one of the most dangerous situations they can face, when a fast-moving front cuts off an escape route faster than a vehicle can outrun it. The head of Gironde's Fire and Rescue Service said the entire department is standing in solidarity with the families of the 2 firefighters, and with all the crews still out on the front lines fighting the flames. Officials say the tragedy has cast a heavy shadow over an already exhausting fire season for emergency crews across the region, many of whom have now been working extended shifts for days on end without a break, moving from one active front to the next as new fires continue to break out across the south of the country. Red alert, sparks, fireworks, and festivals all banned. The Gironde Prefecture placed the department under its highest fire alert level earlier this week, citing an exceptionally high risk of new fires breaking out, given how dry the vegetation has become after weeks of heat, with almost no rain. Under the red alert, authorities have banned access to vulnerable forest areas during the afternoon and evening hours, when fire risk peaks, and prohibited any equipment capable of producing sparks, from angle grinders to lawnmowers. Outdoor sports and cultural events have been suspended, and fireworks, sky lanterns, and the burning of green waste are banned anywhere in the department until further notice. Officials have stressed, repeatedly, that the vast majority of wildfires in the region are started by human activity rather than natural causes like lightning. Investigators say more than 100 people have already been arrested across France this summer in connection with fires believed to have been deliberately or carelessly started, and prosecutors have signaled they intend to pursue the harshest penalties available, given the scale of destruction and loss of life this season has already produced. Not just Gironde, fires burning nationwide. Gironde is far from the only region under threat. This is very much a nationwide crisis, with active fronts burning simultaneously in at least 4 separate parts of the country. In the Var department, on the Mediterranean coast between Marseille and Nice, a separate wildfire has been burning for several days near the town of Pontivez, consuming roughly 2,500 hectares. That fire destroyed around 10 homes and damaged 50 more before firefighters managed to bring it under control, though officials caution it hasn't been fully extinguished, with pockets still smoldering beneath the surface and capable of reigniting. The return of strong mistral winds, which can gust powerfully enough to scatter embers well ahead of a fire line, has raised fears the wildfire could flare up again at any moment. Further south, on the island of Corsica, crews are still working to contain a blaze in the mountains near Corte that had been thought under control before it began spreading again, a frustrating setback for teams who thought they'd gotten ahead of it, combined with another fire near Aleria that has since been contained. More than 640 hectares have burned on the island so far this season. In the Alps, a wildfire that began near Argentière-la-Bessée in the Hautes-Alpes over the weekend continues to burn, having already affected around 200 hectares of mountain terrain, a reminder that this crisis isn't confined to the typically fire-prone south and southwest. France has placed 5 departments, including Var, Gard, and Aude, under a red-level wildfire risk warning, citing dangerously dry vegetation and the likelihood of strong winds fanning new fires. Temperatures across the south of the country are expected to climb as high as 40 degrees Celsius in some areas over the coming days, adding further stress to landscapes that are already parched. Forecasters say a brief break in the weather may arrive over the weekend as storms move across the south, offering crews a small window to make progress. But early indications point to another heat wave forming soon after, raising concerns about a further surge in fire activity in the weeks ahead. A historic, record-breaking season. According to the European Forest Fire Information System, France has now burned through more than 42,800 hectares of land so far this year, more than 4 times the average for this point in the season, and already surpassing the total recorded during the historic 2022 wildfire season, which had previously been considered the worst in decades. For a country that has spent years investing in wildfire prevention and response following that earlier disaster, the fact that this season has already outpaced it is a sobering signal of just how much conditions have deteriorated. Biscarrosse, a new front opens, and the situation is still evolving. A new wildfire emergency is unfolding right now in the Landes region, just south of Gironde, near the towns of Biscarrosse and Parentis-en-Born. The fire has already burned through more than 6,000 acres of forest, forcing the overnight evacuation of 23,000 residents and visitors with little warning as flames closed in faster than authorities had anticipated. Roads have been closed and emergency shelters set up as 350 firefighters and 70 gendarmes work around the clock to contain the blaze. Several homes and an industrial zone have already been affected, and 5 emergency responders have suffered minor injuries while battling the flames. This marks yet another fast-moving front in what is already the worst wildfire season France has recorded in years, as crews stretched thin from days of continuous fires now rush to protect a second coastal community from flames that are spreading faster than anyone can comfortably predict. The bigger picture. Climate scientists point to the broader pattern of intensifying heat waves and prolonged droughts across the Mediterranean region as a key driver behind the increasing frequency and severity of these fires. They warn that extreme fire seasons like this one, once considered rare and exceptional, are likely to become the new normal as global temperatures continue to rise, meaning the kind of coordinated multi-front emergency response France is mounting right now may need to become a regular feature of European summers, not a once-in-a-decade event. For now, the priority remains simple: protect lives, hold the lines where possible, and hope for the weather to turn. With 3 separate coastal and inland fronts active at once, exhausted crews, and another heat wave already forecast on the horizon, officials are bracing for this crisis to stretch on for days, if not longer, before any real sense of control returns to the region.